Welcome everybody to another episode of Trident Talks. I'm Josh, the director here at Trident, and I'm very happy to say we're joined again by Oz Alashe, the CEO and founder of CybSafe. Hey Oz.
Hey Josh, thanks for having me back again.
Thank you for joining. I know you're super busy at the moment, so appreciate your time. Oz, as you know, through July, we're trying to create this series, and we are releasing a series, a mini series almost, of snapshots of founders and sort of C-suite within well-funded or going through funding cyber kind of software vendors globally. And the aim is to kind of bring you to the forefront and make it very kind of normal, almost like normalized funding to a certain degrees, but just kind of explain the situation, the process behind going from the ideation of we need funding to a PR release on LinkedIn that everyone goes, wow, I didn't know that you're going to get funding. And then kind of like what we're doing with it as well, right? So what's the purpose behind all of that kind of that capital coming in? So really quickly, who are CybSafe?
Yeah, so CybSafe are a cybersecurity and data analytics software company that is focused on the human aspect of cybersecurity. Our software helps users within organizations make better security decisions, and it influences their security behavior. And we help organizations see the risk they carry as a result of how their people behave.
Awesome, great. So firstly, congratulations. I did see the news in June. You've got Series B, amazing news. Maybe even at Series B or go back Series A or kind of angel or seed funding, sorry. At which point did you realize, and feel free to talk about whatever stage, that you needed even more funding, or just to start with, we need capital?
Yeah, it's a good question actually, Josh, because actually not every business needs capital. That's one thing that is really key. You know, there will be people who are watching this who think that the only way to grow a tech company is to raise money and take investment, and that's not true. There are lots of really great businesses that are bootstrapped. But if you do decide that you need to raise money, then investment, of course, is a fantastic way to do it. There are other ways as well to get capital. We decided to raise money at CybSafe because we wanted to grow quickly. We wanted to launch into the market, grow quickly. We had an idea that we had tested. We had customers before we had really got any investment, or certainly basically funded it through our own endeavors. But the fact of the matter is that we knew that in order to grow, to get the software engineers, the behavioral scientists, the data specialists, to bring those people together, we'd need to be able to pay them. And of course, that was something that we wanted to do as quickly as possible. So that was the reason. Once you start, so once you take investment and raise money once, it's not unusual to raise money again, and then maybe even again after that, and as many times as you feel you need to. By that, I mean, you kind of set down a path. Yeah, somebody described it as drinking from the witch's tit. I'm not quite sure that that's a good way to describe it. But you set yourself down a path because, like I said, you're about trying to grow quickly. And indeed, if that's going well, that's fantastic. But you're burning cash, you're hiring people. And therefore, ultimately, this is really now an exercise about the cash flow, runway, and growth.
Right, got you. So if you are a Series A and you've just signed the term sheet, you know already, roughly, so to speak, your runway before you're going to have to raise again, with a few maybe obstacles and some good successes in terms of revenue and clients signed. There's a typical kind of runway where you go, we know we're going to have to go Series B before then we go to our end goal, which is X.
Yeah, so I mean, every business, again, this is nothing to do with whether or not you raise money. Every business should know how much money you've got in the bank, and therefore how long you can survive for. So that's the calculation that ultimately underpins all of these decisions. And like I said, whether you're bootstrapped or whether you are venture backed, you need to know that answer. Yeah. So every business knows that. You raise money, you have a view about how long that money is going to last you. You think, I'm going to spend money on hiring these types of people or doing these types of things, and I think it's going to take this much time to do those types of things. I also think that we're going to have a burn rate or an expenditure rate of this, and I think we're going to make this in terms of revenue, and so therefore a calculation will give you a rough idea of your runway. And that runway, of course, is the point at which you run out of money, so your zero cash state, and you want to raise money before that point. And so there was a point in time where generally people would raise money, and it was traditionally advised that you would give yourself about 18 months to 2 years runway for each fundraise. Raise enough money so you've got 18 months to 2 years. But the truth is that actually that really is down to you as the leadership group for that organization. And in some cases, we will raise and have more than that. And in some cases, you might have a little bit less than that. It really is about your risk appetite. It really is about what's going on in the market, how easy it is to fundraise. The market has changed, Josh. The last 6 months, the market has changed significantly.
I've heard, we'll come on to that about instead of just going hell for leather and growth, people look at profitability more so now, and they want to see a little bit of a return, right? Because of uncertain times. Just back to that point then. So you get you kind of you've got your great idea, you've already got your MVP, you've already got clients signed. So that's a great start to going out to the market for funding. How does it actually happen? Like, who do you who do you pick up the phone to and go, do you know anyone that's got any money?
Yeah, no, it's a brilliant question. There's lots of different ways that you can raise investment capital. You can get it from, and it really does depend on, of course, what stage you're at, what stage your business is at. But friends and family rounds, you'll hear people often talk about. You'll hear people talk about angels. You'll hear people talk about a seed round, which is again is that kind of early stage investment that you might take potentially even before you've got much by way of customers and therefore revenue. And then a bit later on, as the idea is not just starting to flesh out, but actually you're getting a bit more traction in the market. You'll hear people talk Series A's, and then of course a bit later on the Series B. But all of those things, even up to Series B, are still early stage investment rounds.
Yeah.
And the way in which you do it probably depends on what kind of investor you want. If you're after friends and family, then you are literally ringing around your mates and saying, or indeed your family members, and saying, does anybody have anybody who can invest into this business? But the truth is, not every single person, certainly not every single founder, has a personal network or friends and families who can put their hands in their pockets to put it in. And this is one of the key issues with underrepresented founders and people who ultimately just don't have the fortune of having those people in the network. So there are other places you can go to for investment. There's no shortage of brokers who would take for a small fee, help you introduce you to investors. And indeed, actually, sometimes they can be very useful. Corporate finance houses, individual brokers, consultants, sometimes they can be helpful. If you've got no other way to get in front of an investor, then you might want to consider one of those. But the truth is they will charge you for it. They'll charge you a fee. And most investors, to my knowledge, most investment, and by that I mean venture capitalists in particular, we're talking about here VCs, they've got a pretty well set up structure for receiving potential investment opportunities. You can literally email in, they'll have an inbox that says, send us your idea. There is a question mark about how seriously those ideas are taken. Obviously, you're just going into an inbox full of hundreds of people. So it definitely helps if you can get yourself in front of one of the partners of said venture capitalist firm. If you can get yourself in front of one of the partners at a VC and get them to listen to your idea, they'll very quickly give you a view about whether there's something there. And indeed, if they think there's something there, even if it's not right for them, they might pass it on to their friends. The VC community is super close-knit here in the UK, across Europe, and in the US. I can speak for those the groups because we've taken money from all of those different regions now, and it's super close-knit. So they talk amongst themselves, they share information amongst themselves, they even pass deals amongst themselves or partner on deals.
Interesting, very, very interesting. So it is then part of the case is then you are, let's say you are talking to a partner and they are, yep, we're interested. You literally then again agree a date and a time for you and the founders or the board to go and pitch your idea presentation to them.
Yeah, so again, it varies. It really does vary wildly. And again, even the variance is in part about the kind of the way different investors work. They don't all necessarily all have the same process. The variance also is about stage. Like I said, it's actually quite tough now in terms of fundraising, and the market has changed. About a year ago, people were doing so many deals and it was so busy that the general gist and acceptance was that VCs didn't really have as much time to put and delve into each individual deal. Was the general view. I'm not sure how true it is, but that's certainly what some people were saying. In our experience, all the VCs we've ever been involved with have spent a long time with us. They've asked and met with us many times. Initially with me as the founder, then with a broader set of the management team, and then several conversations with various members of the management teams. They get to know the business, understand the business. Then they spend time with customers. Then they spend time with you again. They might want to meet some advisors. They might want to meet some board members. All of this is as they trying to determine whether there's more to you than just the PowerPoint deck that you're pitching from. Yeah. That's a good idea that you've got in your head.
Yeah, I heard recently that there are actually companies set up to do things like due diligence checks with your customers, like anonymously as well.
Yeah, so there are lots and lots of companies that do that. They'll do due diligence checks with your customers. They'll do due diligence checks with your competitors in order to understand where you really do differentiate. They'll speak to the analysts because, of course, Forrester, Gartner, Amelia, all of these people have got really good grasp of the market, and therefore they're a really good source. And then, of course, speaking directly to customers is a fantastic way for them to find out what customers think about you, and why they chose you, and whether they intend to stay with you. Yeah,
more importantly, absolutely, retention. And did you guys have any particular concerns when you were going to market for capital?
So yeah, lots of different concerns at various stages is the truth, Josh, because when you're doing it for the first time, you've never done it before. So in that sense, there's this kind of adage, especially if you've watched dodgy programs like what is it, the social social media game, or
Oh yeah.
the social experiment. The people getting a bit too carried away about, or not too carried away. Actually, it's an important thing to consider. Dilution is one of the things that people often look for, or what are the terms of the deal. So there'll be things within the terms of the deal that will determine whether or not what happens in the event that things don't go quite according to plan, or indeed actually what the future might look like, or what's the structure look like, what's the control of the organization look like. Everyone kind of focuses on dilution but misses all of those other bits. So those are all things that, for me personally, I wanted to make sure I understood, and indeed wanted to make sure that we partner. You also want to make sure that you're going in with a good partner, because ideally it's a competitive situation in your favor, and indeed in our case that has always been the case. So you want several people wanting to invest in you, because then you can have a really meaningful conversation in order to get the best possible terms for your business, for your shareholders, which of course maximizing shareholder value is a really key important role as chief exec of the business. So all of these things are important, and so they kind of manifest themselves sometimes as concerns, but as you do it, definitely you kind of realize that some of these things are relatively straightforward. They're not there to trip you up, and those things that are complex, there are people to advise you. And the other thing I would strongly advise anybody to do is to talk to lots of other people who've gone through it beforehand, because that's the other thing as well. There's no shortage of founders who've gone through it and had good and bad experiences, and you can learn from both.
Yeah, it's a tight-knit community as well, right? Of founders and ownership within the cyber vendor community, especially in the UK. So bring it up to the present time. You guys again closed Series B last month. What's the plan? What was the purpose of doing that, other than extending runway? Was it like a particular, we're going to go global? Is it sales and marketing? Is it R&D? Like what's, because the guys that you hire, you're in a space where you need some super clever, very highly like educated individuals, right? So they're not cheap, and it's
Yeah, no, that's
competitive.
right. You're right. Super. They are talented. They're remarkable.
Yeah,
They have. They're highly sought after, and so whether
yeah,
that's software engineers, which again, really talented software engineers are of course hard to get anywhere at the moment. Certainly for without really forking out for them, and rightly so as well, given the amazing work that they do. Likewise, behavioral scientists in our particular case, or data specialists. These are all roles that are absolutely key. Or indeed, even if you just bring leaders, one of the things we were doing was rounding out our leadership team, the executive leadership team. These are people who've done these stages before, bring real skill set and real leadership ability, and unsurprisingly, they rightly need to be remunerated. So that's all the investment. So we weren't actually raising money to extend runway per se. We're raising money to invest, and the investment for us is really in two main areas: go to market. So the aim at CybSafe is to accelerate the growth that we're seeing. We're seeing some really good growth. We just had a fantastic year. We want to double down on that and have another great year and year after that. We also want to expand into our first overseas market officially. Nice. We're actually being used in 14 countries around the world at the moment. The platform's available in 16 languages, but we haven't actually got footprint in any of those countries other than partners. But actually, we're hiring our first people in the US with an aim to expand into the US and to go after the US market. So go to market in all its broadest guises there. And then the other area for us is actually doubling down on the growth and the acceleration, the rate at which we deliver the product. Our product is incredible now, but it's nowhere near where it's going to be in 2 years' time, because we're fundamentally changing the game, Josh. And so that means going from 3 product squads to 9 product squads. That means getting, like I said, more engineers, more products people, more behavioral scientists, user researchers. This is really important for us. And of course, all of these things require a little bit of capital.
Yes, absolutely. So people that are watching, listeners, whether you are potentially have your own idea and you want to do this and build your own company, then of course all of this insight is super valuable. And speaking to people in the industry is critical, like you said. But if I'm a software engineer, I'm a data scientist looking, can I contact yourself? Have you got a talent team? Have you got a careers website? Where can we find you? And I'll kind of put links into this.
So yeah, I mean, you can find us on all the usual spaces. So of course we've got social media presence on all the main social media sites. We've also of course got a website, www.cybsafe.com. We've got a careers page. We put all of our jobs up on careers page. We believe in being as transparent as possible with all the information about our jobs. What does the job entail? What is expected of you? What are you going to get paid? What's the full package look like? And we do have a people team. So we've got a people operations team, and we've also got talent acquisition managers in there. And we also don't just wait for people to come to us, we go after people as well. So if you see any jobs on the CybSafe website that look interesting to you, please do reach out.
Amazing. Like I said, we'll pop a link so people can go straight to your careers page. Good luck with the Series B and following through for the rest of the year. It's obviously going to be huge. I see you guys everywhere, and I see you at every expo as well. It's really good to see. Congratulations. Thank you so much for joining and for sharing your insights. Really appreciate it.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for having me.
Cool. Thanks, Oz.